Hello everyone, and thanks for joining us today here at Chris's Granite Paradise. It's good to be home. I just got back a week or so ago from Germany, and I want to do a couple of things today. First of all, I want to let you know that I have not become a travel channel. As of late, I've been uploading exclusively stuff from Germany because I was over there for 2 weeks with my mom. But we're back now, and we'll start getting back to normal rock-related topics. And today I'm going to speak with you about the stone industry in particular and share some of my experiences in the stone industry. And I also want to take advantage of this opportunity to officially introduce the playlist I have called Stone Industry Jewels. The playlist I mentioned, Stone Industry Jewels, I'm going to be going through as much as I can get to, because many of them are buried in the sculptures, but I have probably over 1,000, maybe even more, varieties of beautiful and exotic stones that have been made available to me and to us, just in general, through the stone industry, the granite countertop industry. We would get so many slabs, especially toward the end when the company was a lot busier and we were all automated. We were doing 2 or 3 kitchens a day, sometimes more, plus other projects, and the variety of slabs is just amazing. And so that playlist, I'm uploading them as shorts first, just a 1 minute, 59 seconds to be exact, a 59-second video of a particular stone variety. I start out with a photograph, and give the industry name and where it's quarried. And I don't say any more than that because it's really hard to know. The stone business has gotten so big that there's a lot of hands in the mix between where a stone is quarried and when it gets to your house or when it gets to my granite shop. So oftentimes we're lucky if we can even find out the quarry location down to the name of the country. Sometimes you can do thorough research and you can find out a little more information, but oftentimes, yeah, we used to joke about it in the granite business where there's a guy on the dock in Houston unloading a container ship, and he's got a clipboard full of stickers with these exotic names, and let's call this one that, because we'll get the same stone from different suppliers with different names occasionally, and sometimes they don't agree on where a stone is from. So we really have to kind of dig and do some research, and I'm doing that. And I'll be labeling these. Won't go any further in my labeling because it's really hard to know. Some of the stones, just by looking at them, you can kind of tell what they are. You know, it's a conglomerate, or it's a granite, or it's a monzonite, or it's a gneiss. Thousands of different kinds from every corner of the globe, every little quarry out in the mountains or out on the plains or wherever. There's probably a chunk of it back here somewhere. For those of you interested in further research, as I mentioned, there are sources online that provide very good information, detailed information about many of the natural stones. Probably not all of them because there are many thousands. But this website, igranites.com, the company is called International Granites. I believe they are out of India, and they are a bulk supplier of blocks, slabs, tiles, tombstones, etc. They only sell full container loads. So this is not your neighborhood granite shop. These guys probably own hundreds of quarries. They're a big company, and so they have graciously provided a dimensional natural stones library with more than 1,100 natural stones for commercial and domestic use. The library is very simple to use. They've set it up quite nicely. One way is you can go up to the top here. They've divided the natural stones into main varieties that most of us would recognize.
So we have granites, limestones, marbles, porphyries, quartzites, and travertines. Then the products would be the countertop slabs, which is what I mostly worked with, tombstones, memorials, and tiles. The way their search bar works is it says it goes to DuckDuckGo, which is basically a search engine, but it only searches this website. Suffice it to say that if you know a name of a stone, an industry name, you can type it in, and if these guys have it, it'll bring it up. Most of us, however, are going to be visual. So we're going to have maybe our countertop, maybe a table, or maybe we're just interested in rocks the way most of us rock hounds are. And so let's say I'm going to go to granite. We're just going to use my kitchen table as an example. I have a kitchen table that's made of, and I know the name of it, so it's easier for me, but let's do it visually. It's called Verde Marinacci, and it's from Brazil. So that helps me, if you know a little bit about it, it narrows your search down. So I'm in the Brazil section and in what they call granites. Let's see if I could, here's Verde Marinacci right here. So we'll click on that. Gives kind of a close-up picture. I'll insert here a picture of my table too, so you know what I'm talking about. Here's a picture of what the slabs look like. And it gives this beautiful description. And this is just one of thousands. Well, in the case of this library, 1,100 stones. I shouldn't exaggerate. But there are many thousands of natural stones. Verde Marinacci granite is actually, it goes on to describe that it's probably a meta-conglomerate. I'm summarizing the paragraph here. They're still awaiting clarification on its classification, but most likely a meta-conglomerate. The reason they say meta-conglomerate is because obviously it was a conglomerate at one time, but you can see it's been metamorphosed. It's all full of epidote, so it's been under metamorphism. I think I'm saying that right. And then if you scroll down further, it tells you a lot of architectural information, like how much pressure, how it reacts to freezing, how much basically you can stress it before it breaks, compression, tensile strength. Some of these even list like if it freezes, some of those characteristics change if it's below freezing. And somewhere up here it showed the quarry location. Here it is, quarry location. So my kitchen table came from this town in Brazil. The quarry just has a number, RN 4080, it looks like. Sitio Bela Vista, Kilometro 14. I'm talking Spanish, but really it's Portuguese because it's in Brazil. That's the exact place where my kitchen table came from. So that's really cool to be able to find this information. Again, this is on igranites.com. Yeah, there it is, igranites.com. And I am listing my stones quite simply. I'm just putting the industry name as we go by and the quarry location by country. So like I would say Verde Marinacci, and it's quarried in Brazil. That's as far as I'm going, but there is further information out there. In fact, let me show you something else if I could find it easy enough. Okay, I'm not seeing it here, but on some of these they have synonyms. Because remember I mentioned earlier that industry names are quite subjective. Different suppliers call them different things, and Marinacci is one of them. Baltic Brown is another one I looked at that has a lot of different names. It all depends on who's standing out on the dock when the ship is being unloaded and what stickers he has on his clipboard. So these guys even try to provide some of the synonyms. I'm not seeing it in this one. Surface finish, block sizes, quarry... Oh, here we go. Synonyms. So Verde Marinacci could also be called Calypso Green, Calypso Green spelled differently. And then Green Marinacci, Marinacci Green, Marinacci Verde spelled differently. Mosaico, Nativo, and Verde Marinacci spelled again differently. So this is very helpful because, you know, if you're watching this video, you might be watching this video from England, or you might be watching it from Iceland or India or wherever. And so the stones get different names. And these guys even help you with that. They give the synonyms. So I found this website amazing, and I just wanted to share it with you. Again, that's iGranites.com. If any of you from iGranites is watching this, thank you very much for making this available to us. I worked in the stone industry pretty much my whole life, and I love the information you provide here because I'm really enjoying it. Thank you so much. And those of you watching the video, I hope this really can be of use to you.
So I haven't really given much attention to the granite varieties or to the stone varieties, and in that playlist, Stone Industry Jewels, I'll be doing that. I've already uploaded 4 as of right now. I'm probably going to upload maybe 2 a day because they're not hard to make, and I'd like to get the playlist up and running and have it be available to you as a resource. The other thing I want to talk to you about today is just my experience in the stone business, because it was fascinating, especially those of you who are older. You know that oftentimes you pass through a season in life and then you step away from it, and it's when you step away from it that you really value and appreciate that season. So in my case, working in the stone business, it was a lot of fun. I mean, yeah, I was wet and cold most of the time, or dirty, and I rode my bike across town in the snow and all that. You know, that I don't forget that part of it. Suffice it to say, we started out really primitive in 1996 in Billings, Montana. I was part owner of what is now Billings Marble and Granite company up there. And we started out, we always like to say, I think we were either the first granite shop in Montana or one of the first. We were among the first, let's just put it that way. And it was wild. We had a garden hose, a skill saw with a diamond blade on it, and a couple of grinders and a wet polisher. And it was pretty primitive. But we were the happening thing, you know, and it was... I've had the privilege of kind of growing up with the stone business. The stone business has changed so much in... 30 years. In about that 30-year period is when it's really taken off, and I got to be in it through most of that. You know, we started out real primitive, and the biggest reason that, you know, to run up to the present, the biggest reason I got out of it is I was replaced by automation. My skill set was bless his heart, I still remember the customer's name, I won't say it, but this guy ordered art bases. This is, again, back in 1996, 97. And he liked black granite. And of course, those of you who have polished things and you know about lapidary and everything, polishing something that's black is pretty tricky. If you don't get it perfect, every little defect shows. And he would want these oblong, kind of weird shapes, not perfect circles, sometimes circles, but oftentimes shaped like, oh, I don't know what you call, just odd shapes. rounded corners and dips and curves, and lots of curves, let's say it that way. And he would come into the office with a magnifying glass and look at the edges and make sure they were what he wanted. And oh, I hated it at the time because I always had to go back and polish it again. But I became so thankful later because his orders prepared me for what would become my career. I was the guy when it came to shaping things, when it came to making a nice round corner, when it came to polishing, cutting and polishing sink cutouts. This is all sink cutouts. There are a lot of sinks. I oftentimes was the go-to guy for that because I had it beat into me, let's put it that way. So I'm grateful for those experiences and that time I got to do that kind of work, which prepared me for what I would do for the next 26 years. In terms of what I said about me kind of growing up along with the stone industry, I want to show you guys, just in my experience, some history back here that encapsulates that. So I'm going to take the camera around, and then what I'm going to talk about is the way I cut out the sinks. And different shops evolved in different ways. Let's be honest, we're very reluctant to share our secrets. So if you go to another granite shop, they probably did it differently. Guys hold their tools differently. Some guys get behind the grinder, some guys are over it. I was over it. I never used the handle. I never used the handle. So I'm going to take the camera around and I'm going to show you guys an example of this. So here we're looking at probably the oldest part of Granite Paradise, and that's what's left of the original patio. You'll note two things here. One is that the stones are all natural stones. There's no synthetics in here because those didn't come till years later. And the way I would cut these sinks, I would draw it out on the piece, obviously, and then for the corners, I would make 2 angle cuts. And then you'd have to hack all of this extra material out to get the nice round corner for your sink. An ungodly amount of work for what it was. And remember, in those years, we did it all dry. It was a terrible amount of dust. And then years later, actually, I'll show you a sculpture that's... This, I believe, is the only sculpture that's left from those years. And it's made of, not the tumbled pieces, but you can see these have the angle cuts. So these are cut that way. Then as time went by, in my experience, I had the idea of, why don't we just drill the corners out? So we got a little bit bigger core bit, a diamond drill, and we would just drill that corner. And that saved, it already leaves you with a corner, because the other part of the circle ends up being the corner of your sink. So that was a big step forward. And that probably was, I don't know, 12, maybe 15 years ago or so. But then we got a CNC machine. See, these are still done with the cores. And the CNC machine was a finger bit. I have a piece. I just remembered. I have a piece. So the CNC machine would cut it like... So you see that perfect rectangle. And then there's a core hole there where... a pilot hole. So the drill bit goes in, and then the machine inserts a finger bit and traces the outside. The reason I'm showing you this piece down on the ground is because when I build the sculptures, I try to hide that pilot hole just because it's kind of ugly. So if you look on this sculpture, you see all these pieces are rectangular sinks that were cut with the CNC. Some of these I cut as I'm looking at them, but they weren't sinks. They were other things. But these ones with the striations, you can see the lines. That's from the finger bit. So that's three stages in the stone business industry that are represented back here. Here you can see it good. So this flat part of the wall is made of the ones with the cores, and then all those are done with the CNC machine. Really everything up there is done with the CNC machine. And that's when I kind of stepped out of the business for several reasons. First of all, my skills were no longer really required. I mean, a machine did most of what I did. And look at all the synthetic. All that white is synthetic. And to be honest with you, that didn't excite me. I like the natural stones. I'm a die-hard traditionalist in that way. I brought them home because they're great for the sculptures, you know. And you can see in these newer portions that are built with the stuff from the CNC machine, you see that there's a lot of white, and that's that synthetic quartz. It's like this, we call it quartz. It's 97% silica bonded together with polymers. And it's an awesome product, and they have other colors of it too. It's an awesome product as far as that goes, but it's just, from a rockhound's point of view, it's not very exciting. Another super exciting chapter in my business life was the 2 years that I was in Lavina, Montana, again with the same partner that I had been with in the granite business back in the 90s. He and I rejoined forces in 2017. Yeah, 2017. I was there until 2019. We went into business together, bought a giant saw. Let me tell you, it's so funny because in my vocabulary, slabs and blocks and things are a whole different category. And especially when I was in that stone sawing business, we were quarrying sandstone. My partner handled most of the, well, all of the quarrying. I didn't do any of that. And I stayed at the shop and ran this saw that we flew out to New York, visited a gentleman that he knew. We bought a saw from him. The saw was shipped out. We got it set up and going. And I'm introducing to you today the Bruce 90 programmable high production saw. It's a beautiful machine made in America. It's a 90-inch diamond blade that costs about $8,000. And it can cut anything up to 40 inches thick. These blocks here that I'm cutting today are pretty small. They're only about 14 or 15 inches thick. It runs with water. The blade is all diamonds and steel. And you can see how big the saw is. It barely fits in the room here. I've already got it set to make a cut. I'm going to go ahead and start it up so you guys can see some action. But this is really exciting to us and our business. Just the blade, if I remember correctly, weighed 700 pounds. It was quite an operation to ever take the blade off, so we didn't want to do that. And the kerf that it made was a 1/2 inch thick. And I calculated that I would make about a ton of mud, 1.5 tons of stone was turned into mud every day. And I would have to dispose of that mud. It was such a muddy mess, but it was wild. I mean, Not too many guys get to run a saw like that, and I was honored to be able to do so. I remember when we were in New York and looking at the saw, I felt so intimidated. How could I ever run this thing, you know? Because we flew out there to look at it before we bought it, obviously. And I was like, there's no way, you know, how am I going to do that? But no, I did, and I considered that I was good enough at it anyway, in spite of the fact that I don't see good, and I had my limitations. And but what a fun time. Again, I hope you guys enjoyed the clips, and I'm gonna also put a clip here showing, and maybe some photos showing the materials that we produced. We produced mostly stair treads. You know, as opposed to the granite slabs like you see behind me, this was totally different. It was sandstone block, and we were making stair treads, patio stones, kind of like what this patio is paved with, except these are cement, but we would make them out of sandstone. A lot of big hearth stones, things of that nature, of the local sandstone up there. Well, it's been a wild time, lots of good memories. Thank you for sticking with me till the end here. If you've watched the video this far, I really appreciate it. Please like, share, and subscribe if you have not already. I hope you will enjoy the playlist and that you'll come by sometime. Again, if you've watched this far, I think you would love the sculptures back here, just all the stone varieties that you can easily see. It would be well worth your time to stop by for a visit. Thank you, God bless you, and we'll see you on the next one.